welcome to the NBL Lynch live preview show. My name is Chris Hughes from Rebound on UpStreamedia's Facebook and YouTube channel. If you're new to the channel, be sure to like and subscribe to the page/channel for all the up-to-date information. Ruth from Upstream does live streaming for all the Thames Valley Cavaliers home games. Tonight, we've had the L Lynch Trophy semi-final draw, and now we've got the preview show. I'm joined by, to my left, Brandon Federici from Team Newcastle University, and to my right, Reese Pinnock from Reading Rockets. Welcome, guys. Hope you're both well.
Yes, very well. Thank you.
Not doing too bad. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. It's great to have you on and have a bit of discussion about the NBL games this weekend. It's great to have some basketball on. I know both your teams have had games disrupt. This must be a great comfort to know, but you've both got games on this weekend. Let's start with the draw which we had just before you guys came on. To recap, if you missed it, we've got Thames Valley Cavaliers or Nottingham McDonald's Hoods host Loughborough Riders, and then in the other semi-final tie, it's Solar Technicals versus Riving Thunder. Reese, what was your reaction when you heard that draw?
It's for Thames Valley. I think I've got them picking up that win over Nottingham. I'm feeling like it's going to be a Thames Valley Loughborough semi, which I feel like will be a pretty good game. I know that Thames Valley just picked up Kyle Williams as well, so they're an even stronger team now. So that'll be a very interesting game. And I know that Worthing will not be happy to see that they've got Solent again for the fourth time already this season. They've struggled against them quite a bit, so I'm sure they're not very happy about that draw. That'll be an interesting game. It'll be tough for Solent to get a 4 out of 4 win against them, so that would definitely be an interesting game.
Definitely, and that quarterfinal, which Reese was just mentioning, that's on 30th February at 4:30. Brandon, looking ahead to this week, how's training been? How's everything at Newcastle?
Well, honestly, we're happy to be on the court. Like I said, I mean, it gives you a good outlet from everything that's going on, and we're all really glad to be there. And especially, with everything, the lockdown going on, our team is like super close on and off the court. So that camaraderie, obviously, have the training and that kind of being like, the one thing we're focused on. It definitely translates on the court. But again, we're happy to be playing this weekend, especially because the last 2 weekends were scrubbed off.
And Reese, obviously, been a bit of a longer gap since we last seen you in Reading Rockets. I know when I was listening to Reading Rockets Instagram Live Friday nights, they were saying that it takes sort of 3 weeks to recover from that COVID to get you back to match ready. What's that transition been like since you guys got over the COVID?
It's definitely been a long process. It affects people differently. So there were a lot of people at different stages of their recovery. It pretty much wiped out our whole team for a bit. So there was a lot of people recovering, and it hit a lot of people quite hard. So coming back after Christmas was a bit of a struggle. Like, we had a week that we were meant to be training, but got cancelled because they closed the schools, so we couldn't get into training. So that delayed our comeback like another week. So we've had like 2-3 solid weeks now to get back to match ready. So I feel like the guys were all pretty much where we were before we got it. So we're all doing all right now.
Perfect. That's really good to hear. We were talking a bit before we came on live. You were saying about how Sam Grant had a good session in training. He took some bodies. Tell me a bit more about that. What some of the highlights been this week?
Some of the young guys have really stepped up in training this week, especially like Latrell Maitland, Sam Grant, showing why they deserve to play some minutes, which has been good to see. But yeah, man, we've just been competing each day, trying to get ready for our next game, because we know that it's been so long since we played that everyone's just raring to go. So it's been a really competitive and high intense couple of weeks getting back to match fitness. It's been good.
And Brandon, your side, one of the sides really impressed me so far this season, especially his comeback wins. Is that chemistry a key factor for you guys, or what's some of the factors been in terms of having that character to still believe you can win in those late games?
Yeah. I mean, we are definitely an unorthodox team for sure. Coming off the promotion, and we kind of have the mindset of we have nothing to lose, and like people are just like if you get promoted, people are expecting you to be at the bottom. So we're kind of just going out like instead of just no one really knows who we are yet, or as we go along the season. But the chemistry is huge. Even in practice and training. If Ronald Blaine catches a body or if David Moyes snatches some ankles, like we're going to let you hear about it for the next couple weeks. And they'll like practices will be tough and, people will be yelling, arguing. But as soon as we get together on the court versus another team, we're going to war. So we have each other's backs. And I think that's the most important thing.
Definitely. I was just spitballing ideas. I remember like Reese, when you came out of Loughborough, I think you kind of have that momentum. Do you guys feel like there's a momentum for you guys from having that promotion D2 to a D1? And there's a few different guys in that squad, but does it seem to be that momentum as well?
Yeah, you could definitely say that. And then Coach Mark Elderkin obviously has a huge part of that, to be able to win that league and then kind of translate those players and, the plays and skills to the first league is an incredible and impressive feat. We're kind of just like taking it game by game and building momentum as we go. So obviously we'll focus on Leicester for now. And then, as the weekend goes on, we'll see what happens.
And with Leicester coming up, obviously they're 0-8 record. What are some of the things that have been identified as things to watch out for? Because I think to underestimate them to be a bit of a folly to say they are better than that record suggests.
Yeah, no, 100%. And if we learned anything from this league so far, it's that any team could beat anyone on any day. And our first game against them was close. Hopefully, I think, we've grown since then and we can improve on that. But it would definitely be a mistake to underestimate them as, they really get after it on the defensive end. They're a scrappy team. They like to run on the fast break. And they play off streaks. They play off momentum. So if you let them get that momentum, then any team is in trouble. So we got to go into it as, we're both 0-0 and it's the first game of the league. And
Reece, for you guys, you travel to Nottingham. They've got a sort of 2-4 record sort of in the middle of the pack. What sort of things teams been trying to drill into you this week in terms of how he'd like you to play this weekend?
We've definitely been focusing more on us rather than what they bring. We're just trying to bring up that team chemistry and that fluidity in the team, bring that connection, and then just playing hard for the whole 40 minutes, not taking our foot off the gas and really like bringing it to them, coming in, giving it your all, taking out. Like we got a deep roster, got plenty of guys that can come in and play. It's about doing your part, taking your rest and letting someone else come in and do their bit, really.
And obviously it's your first year with Reading. I'm really interested because I feel like NBL's got a lot of talented coaches. Obviously, Coach Team now, Coach Jam with Loughborough. There's lots of great coaches to lead from 1 to 14. Having played under those two, what are the differences in terms of what players expect from playing with under those two different coaches?
Well, although they are two quite different, they're very close and they talk a lot, and I feel like they actually have quite a few more similarities than they do differences. So I've been quite lucky in the fact that I haven't really had to adjust too much in terms of coaching. But you can both tell that they really care about the game and the players that they have, which is sort of their best quality in terms of a coach because they're extremely invested in their teams. But yeah, they're both very driven coaches for sure. Expect a lot of that out of their players and try and drive that, to get the best out of each individual player is something that they look to do a lot. So yeah, it's been pretty not similar, or yeah, it has been similar, but different at the same time. But yeah, not too much of an adjustment for me.
And Loughborough obviously hosts Derby, sort of two very talented sides. Brandon, what are your thoughts on that game? Where some of the interesting battles do you think they'll come up in that game?
Yeah, no, especially because we played Loughborough twice, and it's been two obviously really close, really good games. And Derby is obviously one of the best teams in the league, in my opinion. They have like just a lot of ways that they can kind of kill you inside, outside, and it's always a lot of balanced scoring too. It's the same thing with Solon, I think, and it's just like a lot of guys can get 20 on any given night, so it kind of just it makes it hard to guard. Me personally, being the first year in the league, I'm wondering, like how home court advantage would affect these games. Also, like in some of these stadiums or places, obviously we have no fans, and it's just for the Basketball England YouTube channel. Maybe my family at home, but other than that, it's it kind of makes it more like an intimate experience because it's just the players on the court. It's kind of like an empty gym feel in practice, so it's kind of just us versus them. Let's get after it. In that kind of sense, I kind of like it, but I obviously do miss the fans. But I think it should be a good game. But I think Derby's going to come out on top.
Yeah, I think that sentiment to be echoed. We're all missing the fans. I'm personally missing going to games. I'm sure there's other fans out missing it, but also the players thrive for that energy too. But I think it also gives you time to focus and lock in if you're playing empty gyms. Easier to ignore distractions. Reese, what are your thoughts on that game? They're two top sides. Where do you think we'll see the interesting battles?
It's Loughborough is a team that I don't think you can ever count out. Derby is obviously a strong team this year, but Loughborough, they're starting to find their rhythm. I feel like they put out a good performance last weekend against Bradford, which is a very solid team, and they came out very much on top. So I feel like it'll be an interesting battle if they do their scout well, which I know Mark Jarram's very good on. They'll be looking to lock up the main facilitators and stuff. But I know Derby's like a tough scout at the same time. They got a lot of people, like he was saying, that like anyone on a given day can really do their thing. So it'll be a very interesting game. I think it's too close to call, to be honest, just to say off the bat. But I think it'll definitely be an interesting game for sure.
And what have you thought about Loughborough? Because they've been involved in very close games. I definitely feel they're better, but their record suggests. What are some things that stood out for you, Reese, looking at your old club?
They definitely love the three. So when they're hitting that, it's a good day for them. But if they're not hitting it, it could be a tough day. But they have got some inside presence, like scoring more, like Jonas getting to the rim, Harrison Gamble maybe down in the low post, and the big man, I forget his name, CJ Hayden. He seems like a pretty decent guy in the pick and roll. You just throw it in there, and he looks like he'll get you a bucket. So yeah, they're not looking too bad. They've seen like their chemistry's got a lot better like, the more they've played. Like I know they're a pretty new team. Like not many players on that team have played together a lot, so they're coming into their stride, I think.
And Brandon, you said you played both of those teams twice. I'm always really keen to get a player's perspective. Who are some of the guys that you felt were toughest to guard, to come up against in those games you played against those two teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think off the bat, for me, Harrison Gamble is one of the toughest to defend, just because instead of that usual role on the pick and roll, it's the pick and pop, and like when you're popping, it's kind of one of the hardest things for like helper defenders to guard. Jimenez obviously is he's always trying to get to the rim, and I mean he's like a dangerous threat from three as well. So like although he's maybe looking to pass first, you can't ever count him out from three or from him getting his own bucket. But no, like I said, they have a lot of firing power with Jonas Dietrich also the shooter. I think he's a fantastic shooter, and he could also get to the rim too. I usually actually guard him, and it's definitely a tough guard. But same thing for Derby too. Derby has they have a lot of size too, which is one thing that they have a lot of size and strength inside, and they hit the O boards really well. So that's always been tough for us. So even if they might miss the first one, they're always going inside. So they're always tough in that way.
Yeah, you both picked up how to love to shoot a three. I recently learned pick and pops. So people don't know pick and pops when they put the screen in but they reject it and it put the 3-pointer. So yes, they're a very offensive team and hard to watch. And we'll probably mention some of those guys in a bit more depth later on when we talk about the Leeds top shooters. The other game, I'm not sure if you guys played either of these teams much. Essex Rebels, Bradford Dragons. Reese, what's your take on that game?
Yeah, two teams I haven't played this year, but Bradford are pretty like their group's pretty solid. Don't really change too much. Ricky Fetsky, Jermaine Lang, Solks, like they're a pretty solid team. Like come out strong. They're very aggressive, like hard to guard. And I know Essex is a young team, but they're a team that like uses that to advantage. Like they'll run the floor the whole time and try and just wear you out. So like it's a team that even if they're down 15-20, they're probably still going to go balls to the wall and try and bring that game back. So I'm sure that'll be an interesting game too.
And Brandon, I think you guys played Bradford early on this season. Is that correct? You guys, what was that game like?
That was one of the first games of the season, and one of our losses. And yeah, they're another scrappy team, but they have a lot of outside shooters like Ricky Fetsky. But then like a lot of the driving kick guys as well. So it's kind of like a dual threat for them. And even when you're down 2, 3, 4, you can't seem to really. We didn't really seem to ever get over that hump, and they kind of just stepped on our throats after that. But for us, it was definitely a learning experience. But Bradford is definitely one of the top teams.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Reese, probably a bit more appreciation has been knowing the lead a bit more, being there a bit longer. I've always felt this is the most competitive season I've seen in a while in the NBL D1, and towards the end, I was really impressed with Bradford. I think they were like one of the informed teams, starting at 8th place. Do you think they'll improve on that this season, what you've seen so far? What are your thoughts on Bradford this year?
They're like a very. They'll pick up games where you're like, wow, that was impressive, and then there'll be a team where they'll drop a game. So I do feel like they'll be probably a mid-table team again this season. I think they'll definitely be like top 8 this season, but I can't see them making a push for like the top end in my opinion.
I think that's a fair assessment. There's definitely a bit of a climbing jump in terms of making the playoffs and making the top 4. I think past the playoff series, it's been hard for the teams outside top 4 to sort of get the unexpected win. I think Hemel did, although Hemel beat Stone at 70-80, but since then it's pretty much been top 4, have gone on to the next 2 rounds. I mean, our last game on Saturday, but doesn't involve you two guys, were in front of TBC. Brandon, what do you think we can expect from that game?
I actually don't know a lot about those teams because I haven't played them yet. So maybe Reese would be maybe a little better.
As I was asking, I don't think you played them.
No, absolutely zero.
Reese, I'll chuck to you a better pass. Carry on.
Yeah, no, that's fine. TVC, very, very deep team, like especially with their new American and picking up Kai, like Hakeem as well, one of the most efficient players in the league. It's going to be a tough game for Worthing, but they've got talented players like Cam, Zaire, Tom Ward, Max Richardson. Like they're definitely a team that if they're feeling it that day, they could put up a good run. But on paper, I feel like it's going to be a hard game for Worthing to overcome. Really, like Thames Valley are just too deep. They got too many weapons. Like they can hit it from anywhere. They can, like they run up the score on you guys quick. Like you'll blink and they'll be up 15-20. So Worthing have got to do a good job to shut them down and also have a great offensive game. So it's definitely be a good game because I've got quite a few friends on either teams, but I'll definitely be tuning in. But yeah, it'll be a hard game for Worthing, I think.
And if you say like for TBC to win or for Worthing to win, what do you think those teams have to do well? So I imagine you probably want to make a prediction. Bear in mind, guys on both sides.
Yeah. For Worthing, that's going to be like they've got to stop. Obviously, like Blaine 3, like they got Taylor Johnson shooting a 3, getting to the rim. They got Lewis Champion who can knock shots. They got Seth Hall who can knock down shots. Like they're very they can hit it from outside, but then they got like Hakeem Silla inside. The other big man, I forget his name. Hetero.
Hetero, yep.
Him inside. So that's another they can really play in and out. So Worthing have got to do a good job of just shutting them down offensively completely. And then for Thames Valley, they've got to stop Cam in transition because he really likes to get out, getting those easy ones. Locking up Zaire because he can really make plays. Stopping Max from the mid-range or the three because he can really knock it down too. And then Tom Ward, another guy that can really shoot as well. So it's more about really limiting guys on what they do well, really. Just following the scout and making sure that guys aren't really getting what they want is the best way for both teams to win, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he did a really good analysis there, Reece. And then on Sunday, Oakland's versus Loughborough has been postponed, but it's Hemel versus Essex. Reece, is that quite a tough assignment for Essex? Bear in mind they've not played many games, and as Hemel side seems to be very much in the groove.
Yeah, Hemel's a tough team. We know that. Reading knows that for a fact. They really run up the score on us in our game in the first half. They shooting like 70% from the three. It was a really tough coverage. They can really let it go. So Essex has just got to kind of stick to their strength of being aggressive and pressuring the ball and just trying to take them out of their groove is the best play for them, and then trying to get them on the counter. But it is definitely going to be a tough matchup, especially with Greg Poling inside, who's a very efficient guy inside. And then they've got people like Mike Williams who can light up from anywhere. Bodie, Jack Burnell, like one of the best catch and shooters in the league. So will definitely be a tough match for Essex. But if they're willing to put in the hard work and make them work for every shot, then I'm sure they'll have a chance to maybe clinch that one.
And I thought, so the games this weekend, I put a link to all the free to watch links for the games. I thought we'd talk a bit about shooters as well, because I feel it's good to sort of have these sort of topics as well. Brandon, I think about Newcastle, I remember the Lynch when maybe the squad wasn't where it wanted to be, but now it is. And I feel you're still slightly under the radar, but give us a little introduction to some of the shooters on your team and what they do particularly well.
Yeah, and so other than me, there's David Moya, our point guard, who's obviously he's a tremendous threat because not only can he shoot the three extremely well, but he could also break your ankles and then go get a layup. So it's not someone who is just like a catch and shoot or coming off screens guy, but he could be very good with the ball. Ron Blaine, obviously, very, very streaky, very, very impressive shooter. But again, he his strength is, he'll muscle you to the basket and get to the rim, but you also can't play off him because if you do, he'll make you pay. We have Naz Abu Ramadan is probably one of the best catch and shoot players in the league, in my opinion. But we also, we have a ton of big guys, like some in between 3-4 positions who are extremely good in the mid range and also catch and shoot scenarios. So we do a lot of pick and pop actions to try and try and get that more kind of in the gameplay.
And Reece, Reading, we've not seen the full while, so remind us some of the talents you have. Just say you guys got equally good shooting talents as well.
Yeah, our American point guard, O'Shawn Williams, is a pretty lights out shooter, can really light it up. Sam Grant, known for his shooting that being 6, I don't know how tall he is, 6'8", it's a hard shot to guard as well. Especially if he plays the 4, not many people are gonna push him out to the 3, so he can really let that go. Ben Dixon, he's a great shooter as well. Our new addition, Johnny Folds, can knock down a 3. He's hit a couple game winners in practice already, so he's pretty cool with it. And I like to think I can get a few up myself. So yeah, we're not a bad shooting team at all.
Definitely, you got to say yourself as well to say otherwise, people out there know. But yes, all very talented shooters. Brandon, some of the teams you played so far, who are some of the standout shooters you face, and what do they do quite well?
Like I said before, for Loughborough, Dietrich I think is very hard to guard because he never really stops moving like without the ball, and like when you're guarding him, it's something I like to do also as a shooter, and it's extremely tiring for a defender. But the ability just to never stop running, going off screens, and just kind of always be moving, it's really hard to guard. And then when you're doing that, and it gets tiring, and the ability to then finish, like get your legs in the shot, get some arc, get it up there, it's definitely impressive. So I have a lot of respect for him in that way. Harrison Gamble obviously was great. Ricky Fetsky, those big guys who could pop out to shoot are always so dangerous because it makes it really hard for our big guys to guard them. Just watching other games too, I've seen like Jack Brunell, like Seth Hawley, Taylor Johnson, like those guys. Just there's a ton in the league of just really good catch and shoot guys, like one dribble, two dribble to the left, off screens. But those are some of the most dangerous guys in my opinion.
And Reese, who are some of the guys you highly rate in terms of shooters in different categories of shooting?
To be fair, there's a lot of talented shooters in the league, if I'm honest. From my experience and guys that have been in the league a while, Blaine Freckleton's definitely up there. Like on the scout, just don't give him a 3, because he'll probably wet that. Jack Bonnell is one of the best catch and shooters in the league. Off the dribble, Mike Williams is a very, very tough guy. He's got a very quick release, so he's very hard to guard in terms of his jump shot. So I haven't played myself Seth Hawley, but I've seen him shoot. I know he can really light it up, and Taylor Johnson as well for Thames Valley. Jonas, I've played with him for a long time. I've got a lot of assists because of him. Like he can really shoot the ball. I know that for a fact. Harrison Gamble as well. There's a long list. Like Jordan Santiago off the dribble, very, very tough. Max Richardson can really light it up. I've played with him, very close with him. I know that he's really got the strap. Tom Ward as well. Tom Ward he's a pure shooter. Like if the form just looks beautiful as well, so he's got the shot. But there's a lot of good shooters in the league, but those are some of the standout ones for me.
And also, in terms of just, I like to do this, especially we've got the BBL trophy coming up. Who are those guys you both mentioned? Do you think to make that jump to the BBL for most? Who are some of those guys you think to really make a difference? I'll start with you, Brandon. Those sort of guys you think to take to the next level.
Probably the entire Solent team, I would say. Those guys are definitely out there. I mean, they just play so well together too. So it's obvious. It's not just the individual talents, which they obviously have, but they do play so well together. Again, Reese would probably be a better judge of this than me so far.
Reese, what are your opinions?
To be fair, there's a lot. Again, it's hard. There's a lot of people that I feel that could make that jump and deserve the opportunity to play at that level. It depends if we're talking British guys or import guys in that question as well.
I think a totally unbiased opinion in my case would be David Moya and Ronald Blaine for no particular reason, just pure skill wise. Again, totally unbiased, but that was probably would be my top 2 guys.
Yeah, definitely. So totally unbiased. Not like they're teammates or anything. I'm sure they're listening, and they're both worthy candidates, even if it is biased. I do agree. I think that I think when you get to the top of the NBL, there's not much, especially last. He made less this season. There's less separated BBL and NBL. BBL's definitely upgraded this year, but those guys could play in the BBL for sure. Reese, do you want to say a few like British names, maybe a few import names as well?
O'Shawn, our point guard, I feel like he can make that jump up. Max Richardson again, I feel like he could make an impact. Andre Arisol at Solent, I feel like he can make that jump. Kyle Jimenez, Jonas Dietrich. I feel like I could take that step. Mike
Reese,
Williams,
make sure
I feel like
I'll say you make sure you didn't miss anyone you've played with either at Luff or part of the Charmwood family there.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say Mark Williams, I feel like I know a lot of people question whether he could make that jump, but I feel like he could make that jump as an import. Travis Charles, I feel like he could do a decent job at the BBL as well. Yeah, those are just a few names.
Yeah, I mean, it's always very hard to be put on the spot to say some names. There's always going to be guys we miss, but the question was just there just to make sure we're show that there is worth in the NBL. I think sometimes people don't fully appreciate the NBL for the product it is. There's a lot of exciting players. I think there was someone the other day mentioned to me that they thought maybe 2 or 3 names from each roster could make a BBL squad as some part of a key player squad or backup. So for me, it's a really exciting league to be part of. I really appreciate you guys coming on tonight. I know you guys got a busy weekend ahead. Before you go, just a last little summary of what you guys expect from the game for people who missed it earlier. Brandon, you guys are hosting Leicester Warriors. Who do you think is going to be the guys to watch out for in that game? Because they're talented to watch themselves, but they have the guys who will be tough guards.
Yeah. I mean, King especially is always a tough guard for us. But I think the thing is just kind of just to wall up on defense in the fast break with all of their guys. And like I said, they're streaky. They play on like pure energy. But if you could just kind of take a whole team approach in that sense. But I think if we do that and play our game and not worry about so much what they're doing, I think we could come out with a convincing victory.
And Reece, finally with you guys travel to Nottingham. Who are going to be some of those guys? Just again, they've got some very talented guys themselves, and I'm sure Coach T, I know you focus mainly on yourselves, which is fine, but there are guys on that Nottingham side to be careful of, and they will be a threat this weekend.
Yeah, they've got a lot of experienced players like Delaney Powell and Kieran Wright. But again, the same, like we haven't really focused too much on them. Like it's been so long since we played that the main focus is on us really and performing to the best that we can. And I'm sure that if we do that, we can come out with a win, to be honest.
Fight and talk, and I'm looking forward to watch all the games. As I say, there's on my website, I've done a link with all the games on it, so be sure to watch that. So Loughborough Derby's first on Saturday at 1 o'clock. We've then got Nottingham hosting Reading at 2:30, which is Reese's game. Then later on at 3:30, Essex hosts Bradford. Then at 4, which is Brandon's game, Newcastle hosts Leicester. And finally, Worthing versus TVC. So a long game, 1 till about 8ish. I'll be watching NBL games. Most of them probably be able to watch on a single monitor rather than split screening. Thank you both for coming on and have a lovely evening and good luck this weekend and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thanks for having
us.
Welcome.